Again, sizing up Murphy, drives, floats, hangs, and scores on the turnaround. J-Dub way behind the three-point line and hits way behind the three-point line. Got blocked, what a rejection by Holmgren. Standing tall like a wall.
This is Lu Dort, you're listening to the Uncontested.
Hello, everybody. And welcome to the Uncontested Postgame Show. I'm your host for tonight, Justin, as the Thunder come up short in their comeback against the Dallas Mavericks, 106-98. We are proudly part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network and Prairie Artisan Ales. If you're not already, make sure to sub wherever you get your podcasts and follow us on all the socials. The chat is full of feelings, full of thoughts after this one. The Thunder lose a hard-fought game, a valiant comeback that just came up short against Dallas. Dallas becomes the first team in the NBA to beat Oklahoma City twice this season, a fact that they will hang above your heads for the rest of eternity. Congratulations, Dallas Mavericks, on winning the game tonight, the biggest game of your season thus far, undoubtedly. With that out of the way, get off my back, Mavs trolls. It was a wild game. A streaky game is probably the best way to describe it. If you missed this one, the high-level summary, Dallas came out and went up 10-0 like that. Instantly came out. P.J. Washington opened the game with a corner three because of course he did. Dallas goes up 10-0. Mark Daignault calls a quick timeout. Oklahoma City overcomes that quick 10-0 deficit to actually take the lead after one quarter, 26-22. Before the second quarter happens, and Dallas outscores Oklahoma City 41-17. Not only did the Thunder offense go completely stagnant, could not hit a shot to save their lives in the second quarter, the defense also evaporated, giving up 41 points to Dallas in a game without Luka Doncic. They did get the return of Kyrie Irving tonight, but no Luka. An unacceptably bad defensive performance in the second quarter. Oklahoma City goes into half down 20. They were shooting 33% from the floor and 33% from behind the arc. Just ugly. I believe they also had 13 turnovers in the first half. None of those numbers sound like the Thunder team this season. If you've watched this team enough, you know that's not how this team plays. They had a rough night. They had a really big win in Oklahoma City last night. They're playing on the second night of a back-to-back after that dramatic win over the Cavaliers last night in Oklahoma City. And they looked like it. They looked like it to start this one. They looked like it when they were down 10-0. They looked like it when they were down 20 at halftime. You know when they didn't look like it is coming out of the gate in the third quarter. Credit to the Thunder. I don't know what Mark Daignault said at halftime, but he lit a fire under this team. And after the abysmal second quarter, Oklahoma City comes out and goes on an immediate 12-0 run, 4 threes in a row, 2 from Wiggins, 2 from J. Will, to immediately make it a game again. Dallas is forced to call a timeout. Oklahoma City ultimately gets right back into it, outscoring the Mavericks 33-14 in the third quarter to make it a 1-point game heading to the fourth. That's all you can ask for. This team fought back. They showed up. They were resilient, as they always kind of are, right? Like, how many double-digit comebacks were we talking about no less than 2 weeks ago? That's what this team does. And they did it again tonight, on a night when they easily could have folded down 20 at halftime. They could have come out and just played the reserves in the second half. But that's not what happened. They stayed in it. They fought down the stretch. The fourth quarter, again, the same problems of the second quarter came back to bite them. They didn't take care of the ball. They did not have strong possessions. They couldn't hit a shot to save their lives. And the defense was making uncharacteristic plays, leaving guys open for Dallas. And that was that. Oklahoma City ultimately loses by 8. Not a comfortable victory for Dallas by any means, but you have to respect the fight from Oklahoma City to make it a game, like I said, when they very easily could have rolled over. But I don't think that excuses a lot of the things that happened tonight. This was not a game in which you saw the Thunder playing how they've played most of the season. They've not had many off games this year, and tonight was a rare taste of how bitter that can be. And for it to happen against the Mavs is the part that sucks. Mavs fans are just so gloriously unpleasant, especially on the internet. Mavs fans in real life are better, but it's just, it stings. It stings. So that's why I started the show as I did. Hopefully we don't have too many Mavs trolls in the chat tonight, but let's break down some big themes. The first big theme probably happened before the game started. Shortly before tip-off, it was announced that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander would not be playing tonight. So if you want to take a little shine off that Mavs victory party, that's a good way to do it. Obviously, the Mavs had no Luka, but no Shai tonight for Oklahoma City, in combination with no Chet, obviously, no Isaiah Hartenstein, no AJ Mitchell. This team was down multiple starters, multiple important role players. They lose Shai tonight with a hand injury suffered last night in the Cavaliers game. He did his post-game interview with a big hefty ice pack on his hand. No announcement before the one that came right before the game. So no idea kind of like what exactly the injury is or how severe it is or what that looks like. I wouldn't be surprised if he misses Sunday as well, but it'll be a wait and see for the Thunder. So that's obviously a big theme right out the gate, right? No Shai, the should be MVP, the guaranteed 40 piece, it feels like lately. You definitely could have used Shai tonight, right? And this team was put in a position to play this game without Shai. Mavs getting Kyrie back was obviously a big boost for them. You didn't have enough guys step up. And that leads me to my second takeaway. I want to get there before anyone else does in the chat. We have to talk about J-Dub. Jaylen Williams tonight. I've said this before on the podcast. I've said it elsewhere. You want to see Jaylen Williams take the leap to consistently show up without Shai on the floor. That feels like a missing piece for this team right now. And what makes it hurt more, or makes it more apparent maybe, is that's what we got so often last year. The fourth quarter dub moniker was something he earned because of how he used to start the fourth quarters when Shai was on the bench. Mark's rotation, keeping Shai on the bench to start the fourth quarter, allowed J-Dub to take a lot of those ball handling responsibilities, and he was usually good for like a little mini explosion at the beginning of the fourth in many games. This season, it's not felt like that version of J-Dub has shown up. When Shai's not on the floor, J-Dub has struggled this year. J-Dub had a really rough start tonight. Like I said, a game where it felt like you really wanted to see him step up. Especially with AJ Mitchell being hurt. When you lose Shai, the ball handler responsibility really, really defaults to Dub. And he was awful. His shooting was very poor to start the game. I mentioned the Thunder had a big third quarter. J-Dub had a great end of the third quarter as well. So Thunder kind of go on a big run. J-Dub checks back in. He hit 3 or 4 shots in a row, and it looked like fourth quarter Dub came early. You hoped that would translate into the fourth. Unfortunately, it does not. The fourth quarter Dub that we got looked a lot like the first and second quarter Dub. Pulling up a stat from Joel Lorenzi here. Jalen Williams goes 3 of 10 in the fourth. That's not good enough to get it done. Down the stretch, when this team needed a basket, the guy that they rely on to get a basket was not there. And Shai's absence was never so loud as it was down the stretch in the fourth quarter. You could see those possessions where it was perfectly set right. The Thunder strung a few stops together, kind of about 3-4 minutes left in the fourth, to keep themselves in it. And those are the possessions that we've gotten so used to seeing Shai come down and just get whatever he wants on the other end. Without Shai tonight, what I think was disappointing was not that Dub didn't make shots, but it's like Dub was trying to emulate Shai. It felt like Dub was trying to play hero ball. He came down and just tried to back somebody down or get his little step back midi or just kind of settle into the moves that he's comfortable with, but it felt like he was forcing it. And I think when the Thunder made runs, that's not how it was happening. They were moving the ball around and getting open shots, which is how they were successful tonight. It was disappointing to see that get abandoned with Dub just trying to like fill the Shai role rather than facilitating to create the best offense down the stretch. Great experience, like not to pull a Dagnaldism, but those are good experiences for a young team. And this is still a very young team. That's something Dub can learn from. Like if we can break it down on the internet, random people on Twitter and YouTube, like you better believe they're breaking that down in the film room, right? Like they're going to break this down so much more in depth than us yahoos are. He's going to learn from this. You hope that those lessons can be applied in the future as this team moves forward. So as much as it sucks tonight on January 17th, as the Thunder lose their 7th game of the season, right? Bummer. In the grand scheme of things, right? Tonight's loss means nothing unless you're a Mavericks fan. And ultimately, you've got to hope this team can learn some lessons from a game like tonight. A tough go from J-Dub. Give you some hard numbers to go with some of the narrative I just shared. J-Dub, in 37 minutes, a team-high 37 minutes, scores 19 points on 7 of 22 shooting, 1 of 5 from behind the arc, 5 boards, 6 assists, and 6 turnovers. Got really sloppy with the ball at times. There was a really pivotal stretch in the second quarter where he turned it over 2 times in a row that both directly led to 3-pointers for the Mavericks. I think Daignault called a timeout after that. That's tough. That's tough. You can't do that kind of stuff. And I think, again, that's where we've gotten so spoiled with Shai. He just doesn't turn the ball over like that. I mentioned Oklahoma City had 13 turnovers early on. They finished with 15, so they took better care of the ball later in the game, which, again, that's a nice adjustment to see at halftime, but ultimately not enough to get it done. One of the other themes I want to hit on is the Thunder and small ball. I think this has been something really interesting. 2 games now since Isaiah Hartenstein went down with a calf injury. 2 games now where the Thunder have gone on big runs when the other team tries to match their small ball. Cleveland did this. I did not get a chance to talk about the Cleveland game last night, but Cleveland tried to match Oklahoma City's small ball, taking Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley off the floor voluntarily to try to match what Oklahoma City put out there, and you can't do that. It reminds me of the Bane quote that, like, I was born in the darkness. That's how this Thunder team is with small ball, right? Like, this team knows how to play small ball. If nothing else, they know how to play small ball. I would not recommend matching them small for small. And they annihilated the Cavaliers doing it. And the big run they did in the third quarter tonight largely came in a very similar situation against the Mavericks, a team that has a lot of height, a lot of size that they can play. They chose not to, and they matched Oklahoma City small for small, and Oklahoma City took absolute advantage of that, made the Mavs pay. And I thought it was interesting. One of the tipping points, there were so many tipping points. This game was very back and forth, very streaky. One of the tipping points came, it felt like when the Mavericks decided they had enough, and they put Kleba in. I think the very first thing he did was get an and one because he was guarded by Aaron Wiggins, and Aaron Wiggins fouled out like 5 seconds into the fourth quarter. Not really 5 seconds, but pretty close. That is how you take advantage of the Thunder and their lack of size, right? Like, we can only count on so many good minutes from Brandon Carlson. We can only count on so many good minutes from J. Will. I thought J. Will played a lot of good minutes tonight, but like, ultimately he has his shortcomings, and most teams with a quality big rotation should be able to take advantage of that. Be very interesting moving forward. Like, do more teams continue to take that bait for however long Hart is out, which hopefully isn't long? Do more teams try to match Oklahoma City small for small? I think that is a poor choice. Would not recommend. And I think Oklahoma City will be able to continue to take advantage of that. Also saw Oklahoma City in that stretch throw a little bit of zone at Dallas. I thought that was a nice wrinkle as well. I think that just goes to show, we've talked about it before. The adjustments that Daignault is able to make is really impressive. Ultimately, like I said, didn't result in a win tonight, but to claw back in a game in which you were down by 20 at halftime, you have to applaud the effort and the adjustments that were made. Like I said, whatever was said at halftime, at least seemed pretty effective coming out of the gate. One of my other big takeaways, these teams hate each other like a lot. You think the fans hate each other, and they do, but like these teams, I'm not sure there's any good blood in this relationship. 4 technicals tonight for the Thunder. When was the last time that happened? You had 17,000 minutes spent in conference with Secaucus reviewing different plays for whatever reason. You had PJ Washington flexing his shoulders after Lu Dort stole the ball from him. You had PJ Washington shoving J-Will in the air and flipping him on his head. You had PJ Washington just like glaring at everyone for no good reason. You had people shoving Kyrie. You had Kyrie yelling at people. You had Lu Dort drawing the ire of every Mavs fan in the AAC, as he always does. It's a filthy, filthy rivalry. And if you want to talk about like building a rivalry in the NBA that you can market, this has absolutely turned into one. It reminds me a lot of the Thunder Grizzlies rivalries of old. I think that the bad blood from the playoff series is hanging around, and it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere anytime soon, especially when these teams are at full strength. It's fun, right? Like, it's annoying, but it's very fun. And I have to disassociate myself from the annoyingness sometimes and remember, like, it is really fun. It's not often that you see 2 teams that hate each other as much as these 2 do. And it makes for good entertainment. It makes for good basketball. And like I said, when these 2 teams are healthy, it's going to be even more fun. I can't wait for the Thunder to get a chance at this Mavericks team at full strength. Unfortunately, they play their 3rd and final matchup of the season 6 days from now. So we're not going to get to see it unless it were to happen in the postseason. But what a postseason series that would be. Hopefully they get a better referee crew on some of those games than they had tonight. Felt like the crew tonight did not do a great job of keeping things in check, not doing a good job of keeping tempers under control. There was a lot of, what was the phrase that they kept using tonight? Altercations that did not resolve. Wild. That's one way to put. I've never heard that phrase in my life, but I think they said it 14 times tonight. There was a lot of unresolved altercations between these 2 basketball clubs. Next thing I want to talk about, let's talk about Lu Dort. Lu Dort, I think, has just become an unbelievably reliable 3-point shooter. And it's shocking to me how comfortable I feel watching him shoot the ball from behind the arc. A feeling that he has absolutely earned. 6 of 8 from behind the arc tonight. I made an absolutely horrific pun on Twitter calling him Lurie Bird. I'm sure that's going to catch on. But that, a joke at the fact that he has now made more 3-pointers in his NBA career than Larry Bird, which is a bananas stat and just speaks so much about the evolution of the game. But you look at this team and its makeup. Lu Dort's reliability behind the arc. Who do you trust more to hit a 3 on this team? Like, there's no one. And that's kind of a crazy thing to think about. Like, rewind 4 years. Can you imagine Lu Dort being the most reliable 3-point shooter on the Thunder? Because that's where we are. Some of the other guys that you would think might fill that role, J-Dub goes 1 of 5. Cason Wallace, probably not there yet, but like 2 of 4. Isaiah Joe, 1 of 4. Alex Caruso, 2 of 4. Brandon Carlson, 1 of 2. Maybe he's going to be the next reliable three-point shooter for this team. Adam Flagler, 0 of 0. They tried to shove him out there right before the end of the half, gave him the Lindy Waters treatment, and did not get a shot up. Like, Lou is absolutely commanding that right to shoot the three-point ball on this team, and I don't know why the defenses that we're facing aren't recognizing that. Like, Lu Dort does not get guarded like he shoots 6 of 8 from behind the arc. At no point tonight did the Mavericks guard him. He's still getting wide open looks. Now, that probably contributes to that percentage, but it's wild to me. Like, he is easily the most reliable three-point shooter on this team, and they do not treat him that way. That might change eventually. Hopefully teams finally catch on to that, but I don't know that that will drastically change Lu's output. He's put in the work to get to this point. I think when you combine that with his defense, it's incredibly impressive what Lu's been able to put together, and the player that he has evolved into is extremely impressive. A couple other stats I wanted to hit on tonight. Lots of bad stats across the board. Like I mentioned, Lu's 6 of 8, but 18 points tonight for Lu. He also had a flopping tech and another tech, both extraordinarily soft calls, in my opinion. Jay Will, 12 points tonight in 31 minutes. That's a lot of minutes for Jay Will. Obviously, with Hart's absence, you expect that. Jay Will goes 4 of 11 from the floor, 2 of 7 from behind the arc, with 10 rebounds. The broadcast noted Jay Will's first career double-double, which is kind of crazy as well. 10 rebounds and 12 points is a solid night from Jay Will. I thought for most of the night, he played very serviceably on the defensive end. Again, you know what Jay Will is to an extent on defense. So you know you're not going to get this like absolute rim protector. But a solid night from Jay Will on defense. And those 2 threes were extremely big. They came in that third quarter run to open the quarter after halftime. He has a way of making solid plays. He also, did what Jay Will does and drew some charges that were called blocks, but also late down the stretch, again, when the Thunder were fighting for every possession, had a really big charge that he drew on PJ Washington. Continues to have great awareness. We also got a little bit more Brandon Carlson experience. 7 minutes tonight. Not quite as dramatic as what happened against the Cavaliers, but 1 of 2 from behind the arc. Again, Carlson just comes in, like, credit to him. It's a very small sample size, but credit to him for stepping up when the team had a need, right? Hart goes down. This team needs big bodies. He's on a 10-day. He showed up in 2 games in a row now and given like non-negative minutes. Brandon Carlson and Alex Caruso, the only positives on the stat sheet tonight in plus minus, which takes me to who I want to speak about next. Alex Caruso, 20 minutes tonight, 6 points, 2 of 9 from the floor. Not great, but nobody shot great as the Thunder shoot 38% overall as a team. 2 of 4 from behind the arc, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, a plus 11 for Alex Caruso. Felt a little baffling that he wasn't on the floor down the stretch. He was flying all over the place, as he does so often. There was a crazy stretch, a play where like 14 people dived on the floor in the span of 30 seconds. The ball was getting tipped back and forth. Alex Caruso was absolutely everywhere on that possession. His energy on defense is unmatched. But you have to think maybe there was a minutes restriction tonight. That's the only explanation I can have, because some of the lineups down the stretch, you were sacrificing a lot on the defensive end. I think Alex Caruso could have helped this team down the stretch, and he wasn't on the floor. I think 20 minutes was probably like a minutes restriction coming back from that injury on the second night of a back-to-back. They probably didn't want to overdo it. Tough, man, right? Great that he played. Great that he's back. But tough that he wasn't able to be on the floor down the stretch when this team had fought back to be in it. Couldn't help have a hand in it to close it out. Disappointing. You hope that continues to get better. You'd rather him stay on a minutes restriction and not get hurt again than get hurt in a meaningless mid-January game again. So respect the decision, but I think, again, that kind of adds up to the number of pieces that the Thunder were without tonight. Very significant. Very significant. Last guy I want to touch on real quick is Aaron Wiggins. 23 points from Wiggs, 5 of 8 from the floor. One of the best individual shooting performances of any Thunder player tonight. 2 of 4 from behind the arc, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. I think the Thunder continue to rely on Wiggs to show up and do the little things. And I think as easy as it is, pardon me, yes, I'm being corrected. 23 minutes for Wiggins, 12 points. Thank you, I misspoke. Wiggins continues to do the little things for this team. And I think, as often as he gets tossed around as like trade inclusion because of salary and other reasons, right? But I think in general, Wiggins, you can't understate his value to this team, especially lately. He's had a really good couple weeks for the Thunder. And when the Thunder were coming back, I mentioned J. Will earlier, but the other 2 threes in that kind of flurry to start the third was Aaron Wiggins. He has a knack of showing up ever since the comeback against the Knicks and the game against the Celtics. He's been on one a little bit, and it's really cool to see him thrive. Maybe it was getting rid of the braids, turned everything around. No braid Wiggins is a different specimen. I think big takeaways, big picture, right? Like there's a lot of things you can critique about this game, but I can't get away from the stats about what this Thunder team is with Isaiah Hartenstein and with Chet Holmgren versus what they are without. They have 7 losses, and the majority of those have come when there's no Hart, no Chet. Knock on wood, you're not going to be going into the playoffs in that situation. You're going to have Hart. You're going to have Chet. The Thunder shared an update on Chet this afternoon that he is trending towards returning to play, will be reevaluated again, kind of taking a look at in 3 to 5 weeks, right around the All-Star break. All-Star break is 4 weeks away. Exactly what I think we all kind of expected in terms of a timeline. This team's going to look very different very soon. And if you can survive these stretches as they have before, not to the same caliber as what they do when they have those big guys, but all you have to do is survive. And this team is 34-7. They're first place in the West. They hopefully are good enough to beat the Nets on Sunday, even if Shai doesn't go. Next up against Utah, Wednesday, you have Utah. Those are 2 games you can probably win shorthanded. It's like if this team's continuing to nurse injuries, whether to Shai only, Hart only, or Shai and Hart, you can probably survive those before you get another crack at Dallas next Thursday. Also on the second night of a back-to-back, which kind of sucks. But at least that one is 2 home games in a row. This team has a lot of opportunity to continue to expand their chokehold on the Western Conference. And it takes everything in me to not just keep coming back to this team doesn't even have Chet yet. I'm going to say the cliche line. This team is going to take on a whole nother form. So as much as it stings to lose to the Mavs, it's January 17th. The Thunder are 11.5 games above the Mavs. Things are going good. The sky is not falling, but it's healthy to like not get complacent. Not that us fans can do anything about it, but taking a look at like where the weaknesses are, what our team's going to be able to take advantage of in the playoffs, like that's a fair discussion to have. And if those are the kinds of things you're nitpicking, you're in a pretty good spot. And I think that sums up where the Thunder are. Tough game tonight, but literally 24 hours ago, we were all celebrating the fact that they just curb stomped the Cavaliers in the rematch. And they did that without Chet or Hart. This team has an extraordinarily high ceiling that we're going to continue to get to see more of. And hopefully we get to start another win streak on Sunday against the Nets. Appreciate everybody in the chat. I was trying to read it while talking, which is probably why I kept getting tripped over my words. You guys are awesome. There's a ton of you in here with me on a Friday night after a loss, I might add, and there's a lot less Mavs trolls than I would have anticipated. So hooray for that as well. appreciate everybody that supports the podcast, that participates. The Discord was hopping tonight. If you're not already, go be a part of the Patreon and join the Discord. There's really great dialogue happening in there. Having a good time, enjoying this team and the historic season that we're having. So make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcast, because we've got a lot more content coming your way, including Sunday night group pod after the Brooklyn game, where we will break down not only that game, but also the week that was and the week that's up ahead. It's going to be a blast. Appreciate you all. Thank you. And as always, Thunder up.